lover to you is all I wanna do.
Under the glittering lights of late 1970s Las Vegas, where Johnny Carson ruled late-night TV with an easy smile hiding an ice-cold temper, the king who could break careers with a glance, Wayne Newton was his golden friend, the velvet-voiced Vegas showman packing Caesar's palace, earning $100,000 a week, trading laughs on The Tonight Show like brothers. But beneath the smiles, betrayal brewed. April 1980, both eyed the Aladdin Casino. Johnny thought it was his. Then Wayne swooped in, snatched the deal, leaving Johnny with millions lost and pride shattered. Insiders saw him slam his fist, face crimson with rage. From that moment, friendship died. The jokes turned vicious. Lady Newton mocking Wayne's makeup voiced manhood to 30 million viewers night after night. Wayne begged for mercy. Johnny refused. This wasn't banter, it was war, with a microphone as the weapon and silence as the blade. What exploded next? Darker than you think. Subscribe now, the chills are coming. Chapter 1. The jokes that drew blood. But smiles can hide knives, can't they? Let's step behind the curtain now. Into the green room where the laughter stung like salt in an open wound. But backstage in the green room down the hall, the atmosphere is freezing cold, almost suffocating. Wayne Newton sits there on a worn couch, alone except for a couple of nervous assistants. He's watching the monitor, his hands clenched so tight in his lap that his knuckles turn white, the veins standing out on the backs of his hands like cords. His face flushes red, not the healthy glow of a Vegas spotlight, but a deep, angry crimson that creeps up from his collar. According to a former production assistant who worked those nights and never spoke on record until years later, Wayne would mutter under his breath every time the punchline landed, "This isn't comedy. This is slow, public destruction." The assistant said Wayne's eyes never left the screen, as if he was memorizing every laugh, every second of humiliation being broadcast to 30 million people. And it wasn't a one-time thing. From April 1980, the month Wayne won the Aladdin deal, through early 1981, the attacks continued without mercy. Johnny didn't just slip in a joke once or twice. He made it a weekly ritual. Every time Wayne's name came up in conversation, in a monologue, in a guest introduction, the audience knew exactly what was coming. The Lady Newton line became a running gag that spread across America like wildfire. It wasn't subtle. It wasn't clever wordplay. It was a direct, repeated assault on Wayne's masculinity, his image, the very foundation of his Vegas empire. Johnny would pause dramatically, let the band play a little sting, and drop another barb about Wayne's makeup, his high collars, his voice, his ladylike mannerisms. The studio audience roared, the home viewers laughed. And somewhere in Las Vegas, Wayne Newton felt another piece of his reputation crack away. Wayne Newton wasn't just any entertainer. Born in Norfolk, Virginia in 1942, he was a child prodigy, playing guitar and singing on local radio by age 5. By his teens, he was performing in casinos, and by the 1960s, he had become the highest-paid headliner on the Strip, pulling in crowds that filled 2,000 seat rooms night after night. He was the epitome of Vegas glamour. Tuxedos, big rings, a voice that could croon "Danke schön" and make women swoon. He owned his image as a macho, all-American showman. He married beautiful women, raised children, built a family brand. The Lady Newton jokes didn't just sting, they attacked the core of who he presented himself to be. In the macho world of 1980 Las Vegas, where masculinity was currency, those jokes were poison. According to people who worked the show and later shared off-record stories, Wayne's booking started to suffer almost immediately. Sponsors whispered behind closed doors. Casino owners on the Strip began to look at him differently, wondering if the jokes had a kernel of truth. Even some of his own fans started asking questions. The man who once commanded $100,000 a week in sold-out arenas was watching his empire crack because of words coming from a desk 300 miles away in Burbank. He later admitted in interviews that the constant mockery almost broke him mentally. He couldn't sleep. He couldn't focus on stage. Every time he stepped in front of a Vegas crowd, he wondered if they were laughing at him or with him. The pain was real and crushing, a slow public torture that only a man with Johnny Carson's absolute power could inflict. Wayne tried to fight back the only way he knew how. He called Johnny's office, not once, but multiple times. He reached out through mutual friends in Vegas and Hollywood. He tried everything short of begging on his knees. Nothing worked. Johnny's response was always the same: silence on the phone and more jokes on air the next week. The hatred was quiet, deliberate, and merciless. Johnny didn't yell. He didn't confront Wayne face to face at first. He simply used his platform to dismantle a man's reputation night after night. And the audience, the same audience that adored Wayne's music, laughed along, never knowing the human cost behind the punchlines. This wasn't harmless banter between entertainers. This was a calculated campaign of humiliation from a man who knew exactly how much power his microphone held. Wayne Newton, the kid from Virginia who built a Vegas dynasty with his voice and charm, was being publicly stripped of his dignity by the one person in America who could do it with a single line. And Johnny did it without ever raising his voice on camera. That's what makes this part of the story so painful. The quiet cruelty of it, the slow drip of mockery that eroded a career in a man's spirit over months. Can you imagine sitting in that green room week after week, hearing the laughter of millions while knowing it was aimed straight at you? The rage building, the helplessness growing, the knowledge that the man who could stop it with a word chose instead to keep twisting the knife. This wasn't just ego clash. This was one king using his throne to crush another. This one still gives me chills when I think about it, my friends, because the real damage wasn't in the jokes themselves. It was in the silence that followed every punchline, the silence of a man who refused to stop, and the silence of a man who was forced to endure it alone. Johnny Carson's absolute power could inflict, and Johnny inflicted it without mercy. But every war has its spark. And this one ignited in the desert heat of April 1980. A casino deal, a lost fortune, a friendship turned to ash. Welcome to Chapter 2, or as I like to call it, the casino betrayal that lit the fuse. Fan Hai, the casino betrayal that lit the fuse. Let me paint the picture of Las Vegas in April 1980. The Aladdin Hotel stood on the Strip like a faded palace, its mob connections finally catching up with it. Regulators were forcing the sale. Johnny Carson saw his golden chance. He had the money, the connections, the vision to turn it into his own empire. He thought the deal was locked in his pocket. He could already taste the power. Then Wayne Newton stepped in. The smiling crooner, the man Johnny had welcomed on his show dozens of times, outbid him at the last second. When developer Ed Nigro stood in front of the microphones in April 1980 and announced the sale, Johnny was sitting in his Burbank office. According to a former associate who was in the room, Johnny slammed his fist on the desk so hard the coffee cup rattled, his face turning a dangerous shade of red. The man who controlled late-night television had been beaten at his own game, and the winner was someone he had once called a friend. From that exact moment, the hatred became deeply personal. Johnny didn't confront Wayne face to face at first. He used the most powerful weapon he owned, his microphone. The Lady Newton jokes weren't random. They were calculated revenge. Every single joke was a reminder to America that Wayne had taken something Johnny wanted. Every laugh from the audience was another dagger twisted in Wayne's back. The contradiction here is painful and still divides fans today. Wayne always claimed the jokes were completely unprovoked and mean-spirited. Johnny's inner circle insisted Wayne was too thin-skinned and had crossed a sacred line by stealing the casino. The truth? It was probably both. Two massive egos and hundreds of millions of dollars colliding in the brutal desert heat. But let me take you deeper into that heat, my friends. Because the real agony didn't end with the casino announcement. It was only beginning. The first Lady Newton jab landed on The Tonight Show just days after the sale was public. April 15, 1980, a Tuesday night broadcast that felt like any other until Johnny leaned into the microphone and said, with that trademark pause for effect, "Wayne Newton's doing great at the Aladdin now. I hear he's redecorating with pink curtains and lace." The studio audience exploded in laughter. The band hit a sting, and millions at home chuckled without a second thought. But in Las Vegas that night, Wayne Newton was watching alone in his dressing room at Caesar's Palace. According to a longtime Vegas stagehand who worked Newton's shows and later spoke off record, Wayne stared at the TV screen in stunned silence, his face draining of color. Then suddenly he stood up and hurled the remote across the room so hard it shattered against the wall. The stagehand said Wayne's hands were shaking, not from nerves, but from pure, boiling rage. "This isn't funny anymore," Wayne allegedly muttered. "This is war." From that point on, the jokes came like clockwork. Every week, sometimes twice a week, Johnny found a way to slip in another barb. May 1980, Wayne Newton's voice is so high now, I think he's auditioning for the Vienna Boys Choir. June 1980, I saw Wayne's new show at the Aladdin. He's got more sequins than Liberace and less testosterone than a choir boy. The audience laughed harder each time. The ratings spiked. But in Vegas, Wayne's world was cracking. Sponsors started asking questions. High rollers in the casinos began whispering. One rumor that circulated among the Strip's inner circle and reached Johnny's producers through back channels was that Wayne lost a $50,000 a night contract at the Sands because the owner said, "We can't have Lady Newton headlining here. The jokes are hurting the brand." Wayne later admitted in a rare candid interview that the humiliation was so constant he began to dread turning on the television. "I'd see Johnny's face and feel sick," he said. Every laugh felt like a slap. The pain was physical as much as emotional. Wayne couldn't sleep. He'd pace his penthouse suite at Caesar's until dawn, replaying the monologues in his head, wondering how the man who once shook his hand on national TV could now delight in tearing him apart. According to a former assistant who traveled with Newton during that period, Wayne would sit in his dressing room before shows, staring at his reflection in the mirror, touching his makeup as if it were evidence against him. He'd say, "They're laughing at me, not with me," the assistant claimed. And every time he stepped on stage, he felt the audience was judging him through Johnny's lens. The man who had built his empire in charisma and charm was watching it erode night after night because of words from a desk in California. Wayne fought back the only way he knew how, quietly at first. He called Johnny's office repeatedly from Las Vegas, asking for a meeting, asking for the jokes to stop. The calls went unanswered. He reached out through mutual friends in Hollywood and Vegas, agents, producers, even a few shared acquaintances from the old days. Silence. Johnny didn't respond. He just kept going. The jokes grew more vicious, more pointed. By late 1980, they weren't even veiled anymore. One infamous line from November 1980, "Wayne Newton's got a new act at the Aladdin. It's called Lady and the Tramp, and he's playing both roles." The studio audience howled. Wayne, watching from Vegas, allegedly threw a glass of water at the screen. The glass shattered. The water ran down the wall like tears he refused to shed on camera. This wasn't just ego clash. This was one king using his throne to crush another. Johnny Carson had the most powerful microphone in America, 30 million people hanging on every word. He used it like a scalpel, carving away at Wayne's reputation piece by piece. And the audience, they laughed because Johnny made it funny. They laughed because they trusted him. They laughed because they didn't know the human showman. The sleepless nights, the shaking hands, the man in Las Vegas staring at his own reflection and wondering if he was still the same person the world once adored. Wayne Newton, the kid from Virginia who taught himself guitar at 5, who sang on local radio by 10, who moved to Vegas at 17 and became the highest paid entertainer in history. That man was being publicly stripped of his dignity by the one person in America who could do it with a single line. And Johnny did it without ever raising his voice on camera. That's what makes this part of the story so painful. The quiet cruelty of it. The slow drip of mockery that eroded a career in a man's spirit over months. Can you imagine sitting in that Vegas dressing room week after week, hearing the laughter of millions while knowing it was aimed straight at you? The rage building, the helplessness growing, the knowledge that the man who could stop it with a word chose instead to keep twisting the knife. This wasn't harmless banter between entertainers. This was a calculated campaign of humiliation from a man who knew exactly how much power his microphone held. The real damage wasn't in the jokes themselves. It was in the silence that followed every punchline. The silence of a man who refused to stop, and the silence of a man who was forced to endure it alone. The hatred was now complete, cold, and merciless. And it was only getting worse. Chapter 3. The Office Confrontation. April 1981, NBC Burbank. Now we come to the moment that changed everything forever. April 1981, NBC Studios, Burbank, California. Wayne Newton had finally had enough. He flew in from Las Vegas, walked past security without an appointment, and headed straight for Johnny Carson's private office. He didn't knock, he simply opened the door. Inside, Johnny was sitting at his desk with his longtime producer, Freddie de Cordova. Wayne stood in the doorway, his voice low but shaking with years of built-up rage and humiliation. He looked straight at Freddie and said coldly, "Freddie, would you excuse us, please?" Freddie, shocked, got up and left the room without a word. The door closed behind him. It was just the two kings now, one behind the desk, one standing over it like a storm about to break. According to Wayne's own detailed account years later, he looked Johnny straight in the eye and delivered the line that ended his career on the show. "I don't know what friend of yours I've killed. I don't know what child of yours I've hurt. I don't know what food I've taken out of your mouth. But these jokes about me will stop right now, or I will kick your ass." The room went dead silent. Johnny reportedly stayed ice cold, his famous smile completely gone, his eyes turning to steel. He didn't raise his voice, he didn't stand up. He simply pressed the security button under his desk. Guards arrived within seconds. Wayne was escorted out of the building. No punches were thrown, but the threat had been made. In Johnny Carson's own office, on his own turf, in broad daylight. This is the moment the famous parking lot rumor was born. Some people still swear it happened outside in the lot at night with raised voices and flying fists. Wayne and the crew who were there insist it happened inside the office in the middle of the day. That contradiction still fuels bitter arguments among fans 40 years later. But one thing is certain, from that exact afternoon in April 1981, Wayne Newton was finished on The Tonight Show. The pain for Wayne was immediate and devastating. He later described that moment as the most humiliating of his entire life. Standing in the office of the man who had once been a friend, forced to threaten violence just to stop the public humiliation that was destroying him. For Johnny, it was the ultimate insult. Someone daring to challenge the king of late night in his own kingdom. The hatred was now complete, cold, and permanent. If this confrontation has you on the edge of your seat, hit subscribe right now and turn on notifications. The silent ban that followed is even more brutal and heartbreaking. Chapter 4. The Silent Ban and the Aftermath. That same week in 1981, the week after the confrontation in Johnny Carson's private office at NBC Burbank, Wayne Newton simply vanished from The Tonight Show. No announcement, no explanation, No goodbye, just gone. One day he was a regular guest, smiling on the couch under those hot studio lights. The next, his name was erased from the booking sheet like it had never existed. For the remaining 11 years of Johnny's run, right up until May 22nd, 1992, when Johnny taped his final show, Wayne Newton never appeared again. Not once. Not even a mention in passing. His chair stayed empty, his name stayed forbidden, his face stayed off the monitor. It was the most complete, most silent exile in late-night television history. Wayne tried everything to claw his way back. He called Johnny's office from his Las Vegas penthouse, not once but repeatedly, leaving messages that grew more desperate with each unanswered call. He reached out through mutual friends in Hollywood and the Strip, agents, producers, even a few shared acquaintances from the old days who had watched the two men laugh together on air. He tried everything short of dropping to his knees on national TV and begging. Nothing worked. According to a former producer who was in the building that week and spoke off record years later, Johnny listened to one of those messages being played back in his dressing room, stared at the cassette player for a long moment, then told his inner circle with quiet, chilling finality, "That man will never sit on my couch again. Ever." The words were delivered without anger, without shouting, just a cold, absolute certainty that made everyone in the room fall silent. Johnny didn't need to raise his voice. His silence was the loudest punishment of all. Wayne's career took a brutal, visible hit in the months that followed. The whispers on the Strip grew louder. High rollers who once begged for front row seats suddenly hesitated. Sponsors who had lined up for his name quietly pulled back. One major casino reportedly slashed his weekly guarantee from $100,000 to $60,000 overnight, citing image concerns. A former Vegas pit boss who knew Newton personally later claimed that in the summer of 1981, Wayne walked into a private meeting with casino executives, and one of them slid a newspaper clipping across the table, Johnny's latest Lady Newton joke from the week before, and said, "We can't have this attached to our brand anymore." Wayne stared at the clipping, his hands shaking, then folded it carefully and left the room without a word. The man who had once commanded Caesar's palace in the Sahara like a king was suddenly fighting for every single booking, every single contract, every single night on stage. The pain was deep, visceral, almost physical. Wayne later admitted in a rare, raw interview that the ban and the relentless jokes nearly destroyed him mentally. "I'd wake up at 3 in the morning," and he said, his voice breaking, replaying the laughter in my head, wondering if the audience was laughing at the joke or at me. "I lost weight, I lost sleep. I'd stand in front of a mirror before a show, putting on makeup, and hate what I saw, because Johnny had made that makeup a weapon against me." Friends who were close to him during that period described a man who used to light up rooms now retreating into shadows, pacing his penthouse suite until dawn, staring at the Las Vegas skyline, whispering to himself that it couldn't be real. One confidant claimed Wayne kept every newspaper clipping of Johnny's jokes in a locked drawer, reading them over and over like self-inflicted wounds, trying to understand how a man he once respected could hate him so completely. The public execution was carried out in complete silence. Wayne had to watch from the sidelines as other stars filled the couch he once sat on. Tom Hanks, Robin Williams, even newer Vegas acts, while his own name became a forbidden word in the halls of NBC. Crew members were allegedly told never to mention him. Booking sheets skipped his name like it was cursed. The man who had sold out 2,000 seat rooms night after night, who had built a Vegas dynasty with his voice and charm, was reduced to a ghost, forced to smile through gritted teeth on stage, while the laughter from Burbank echoed in his head like a curse. This wasn't just a professional setback. This was a public shaming that lasted over a decade. Wayne Newton, the kid from Virginia who taught himself guitar at 5, who sang on local radio by 10, who moved to Vegas at 17 and became the highest paid entertainer in history. That man was being systematically erased by the one person in America who could do it with nothing more than a decision and silence. Johnny Carson didn't need to raise his voice. He didn't need to explain. He simply closed the door and left Wayne on the other side in darkness. This one still gives me chills when I think about it, my friends, because the real cruelty wasn't in the jokes or the ban. It was in the silence that followed. The way Johnny Carson could hate so deeply, so personally, and never say a word about it. The way Wayne Newton carried that wound for decades, smiling through the pain while the world laughed at the punchlines. 2 kings, 1 throne, and a feud that ended with the quietest, coldest, most devastating victory of all. Chapter 5. The hidden cost and the contradictions that still divide fans. In 1986, the wounds from that long-ago feud had still not healed, and Wayne Newton finally fought back the only way left to him, in court. He filed a $19 million defamation lawsuit against NBC, not directly against Johnny Carson, but over a Dateline NBC report that linked him to organized crime figures during the Aladdin ownership days. The report claimed Wayne had ties to mobsters who helped him secure the casino license, painting him as a front for underworld money. Wayne insisted it was all lies, that the story had ruined his reputation and cost him millions in lost bookings. The case dragged on for months, depositions, motions, endless headlines. But in the end, it was settled out of court in 1987 for an undisclosed amount. Some rumored it was in the low millions. Others said NBC paid nothing but legal fees. Wayne never got the public apology he craved. Johnny Carson never commented on the lawsuit, not one word. He simply stayed silent, as if Wayne had never existed. Wayne later opened up in rare, raw interviews about the toll it all took. He said the jokes weren't just words. They were a daily assault that chipped away at his mind. "I'd wake up at 3 a.m. replaying them," he told a reporter in the early 90s, his voice cracking. "Every laugh on television felt like a knife in my back. I lost sleep. I lost confidence. I'd stand in front of a sold-out crowd at Caesar's Palace and wonder if they were seeing Mr. Las Vegas or Lady Newton. It nearly broke me." He admitted to friends privately that there were nights he stared at the ceiling, tears in his eyes, asking how a man he once respected could hate him so completely. The ban wasn't just professional, it was personal, a public execution carried out in slow motion. Wayne's bookings dipped sharply in the early 80s. High rollers hesitated, sponsors got nervous. The man who once commanded $100,000 a week and filled arenas watched his empire shrink because one man in Burbank decided he was no longer welcome in the spotlight. Johnny Carson never spoke about the feud publicly, not once in all the years that followed. Not in interviews, not in his 1992 retirement special, not even in his private journals that later surfaced. He simply erased Wayne Newton completely from television history. No explanation, no apology, no second chance. That quiet, ice-cold decision showed exactly how much he hated one man. More than Joan Rivers, who betrayed him with her own show. More than Jerry Lewis, who allegedly abused crew. More than anyone else who ever crossed him. Wayne Newton didn't just lose a seat on the couch. He lost his place in the national spotlight for over a decade because he dared to challenge the king in his own castle. The king didn't shout. He didn't fight back with words. He simply closed the door and left Wayne on the other side in silence. The craziest part of this whole story? Johnny Carson never explained the ban, ever. He carried the hatred to his grave in 2005 without uttering a single public word about Wayne Newton. It was as if the feud never happened, as if Wayne had been a ghost who vanished from the guest list. That level of absolute control, to delete a man from 30 million viewers' memory with nothing more than a decision, is terrifying when you think about it. Johnny had the power to rewrite history with silence, and he used it ruthlessly. This feud still divides fans 40 years later. Wayne has always maintained that Johnny was mean-spirited, impersonal, that the jokes were cruel and unprovoked, that the ban was an act of petty revenge from a man who couldn't handle losing. In a 1999 interview, Wayne said, "He didn't just joke, he tried to destroy me, and he almost succeeded." Johnny's inner circle, the producers and writers who knew him best, insisted Wayne overreacted. They claimed he was too thin-skinned, that the Lady Newton bits were harmless showbiz ribbing, that Wayne crossed a sacred line by threatening the host in his own office. Peter LaSalle, Johnny's longtime producer, later said in a quiet interview, "Wayne came in hot. He threatened Johnny in his own office. What was Johnny supposed to do? Invite him back for tea?" The truth, it was probably both. Two massive egos, two kings who couldn't share the same kingdom. Hundreds of millions of dollars colliding in the brutal desert heat. A casino deal that turned friendship into betrayal. A series of jokes that turned into a public flogging. A threat delivered in anger that ended a career. And at the center, two men too proud to back down. Wayne refused to apologize fully. Johnny refused to forgive. The result was a silence that lasted longer than either man's prime. Today, we still see powerful hosts and stars clash in show business. But rarely does one man have the absolute power to delete another from an entire industry with nothing more than a silent decision. Johnny Carson had that power, and he used it without hesitation. Have we really changed in the decades since, or do we just hide the hate and the grudges better now with PR teams, NDAs, and carefully worded statements? The feuds are still there. They're just quieter, more polished, less visible. But the pain is the same. A man who once commanded the Strip, who filled arenas with his voice, reduced to a footnote because one man decided he no longer existed. You know what the real scar wasn't the jokes or the ban. It was the silence that followed. The way Johnny Carson could hate so deeply, so personally, and never say a word about it. The way Wayne Newton carried that wound for decades, smiling through the pain while the world laughed at the punchlines. Two kings, one throne, and a feud that ended with the quietest, coldest victory of all. Which moment shocked you the most? The casino betrayal in April 1980 that started the war, the brutal Lady Newton jokes that drew blood for over a year, or the raw office confrontation in Burbank in April 1981 that ended everything? Drop it in the comments below. I read every single one. Tell me who you think was really at fault. If these dark stories from Johnny Carson's blacklist have pulled you in the way they pull me, hit subscribe right now and ring that bell so you never miss the next forbidden chapter. Next week, we're opening another door that's even darker than this one. Sleep tight, my friends, but keep the lights on a little longer tonight, because not every smile you saw on late-night television was real. Some of them were hiding pure hatred.